What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Luis King Kong Ortiz. You know that's my guy. Luis King Kong Ortiz confesses, he proclaims that he will be the first one to defeat Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder, and he will do it by knockout. Therefore, he will be the first Cuban heavyweight champion ever. Now, that's a good thing that Andrew Ruiz has got everyone fired up, you know, and Ruiz should be an example of what you can do with 100% focus, what you can do with people overlooking you. You know what I mean? Because people are overlooking Luis Ortiz. Let's face it. They are looking for, for the Fury rematch. And you know what I'm saying? And then they're not even really giving him a chance. They say, hey, his knees are shot. He's old. He's this and that. You know, that may be a good thing for Luis Ortiz. Because the more people overlook him, the more people talk about other fighters besides the fighter in front of him, you know, he has a good chance because you take your eye off the ball. And you should never do that. Now, I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder is doing it per se, but honestly, if someone berates you with a lot of questions, and they're picking your brain on who you want to fight and when the fight's going to happen, what date, what time, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to focus on that person in front of you. It really is. I mean, you think AJ was the first one to do that? But the good thing about Deontay Wilder is he's fought Luis Ortiz and vice versa. So Ortiz knows what he's up against. He knows to stay the hell away from the right hand, keep him off the ropes because he might counter like he did. He used the ropes to counter. He comes off the ropes and hits him, before throwing him to the ground and all that shit. But, he was able to catch him with that punch that hurt him in the 10th round. Okay, so it was a very exciting fight. Again, I look forward to the fight, and I hope Luis Ortiz does win. Because wouldn't that be crazy to have the first Cuban heavyweight champion? We already have the first Mexican heavyweight champion. And then you have like a Canelo Lara fight, you know what I mean? When Canelo fought Erislandy Lara, and those guys fought and, be fighting for what? Undisputed heavyweight titles? And guess what? These are new guys around. They ain't really new as far as, just coming on the scene because they've been around for a while. But they are new when it comes to the top fighters. And these fighters that are right below those top three are inching on up. So Deontay, he does have to be careful and really cautious of who he's up against. I know he didn't look like shit in his last fight against Hammer. That was a tough fight for him. But I remember Joe Louis saying this. Be careful of old fighters because they always have at least 2 to 3 good fights left. Now, the question is, can this be Luis Ortiz's last 2 good fights? Can he save the best for last? Did he overlook Christian Hammer, therefore he looked shitty in that fight? So we got to put a lot of things in perspective and really talk about it because I think, honestly, you could say he looked like shit. I would agree he looked like shit against Christian Hammer, but maybe he overlooked Christian Hammer. You know what I mean? And we can say this about Luis Ortiz. He can take a punch. He took a lot of those rights. Deontay Wilder just didn't hit him with 1 right or 2 rights like he did with Fury and clip him. He hit him with certain punches, and those punches were connecting with Luis Ortiz. So he is a strong, tough bastard. And he just didn't get KO'd. Luis Ortiz was down in those fights because of exhaustion. You know what I mean? But again, this was the 10th round, mind you. So, that would be something to see. It's definitely something to talk about. And Luis Ortiz is determined, and he wanted that fight. And honestly, I think he wanted Deontay Wilder more than Joshua simply because Deontay was the first one to defeat him. And he wants to repay the favor. You know what I mean? And you really think about it, Luis Ortiz, by him winning that fight, he could actually change everything by knocking out Deontay Wilder. If you can imagine that. You know, I know everything is pretty much against them. And they still had that damn referee in like they had, like they had in the first fight. You know, you got to watch him like a hawk. You know what I'm saying? But he could change the whole game. Because if Luis Ortiz can defeat Deontay Wilder, yeah, there'd probably be a trilogy. But then it would be back on pay-per-view, right? So that's another payday for Luis Ortiz, another payday for his family. So it can, support the people around him, his warm circle of people that are close to him. He can do a lot for himself, and coming the first Cuban, heavyweight champion. That's big. That's very big, and that's why I was rooting for him last year, honestly, because he could have made history like Andy Ruiz did, but Luis Ortiz, he, regardless of what shape he's going to come in, he's going to come to fight. You know what I mean? If you've seen the first fight, if the second fight's anything like the first, we're going to get a real treat. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Luis King Kong Ortiz proclaiming that he's going to knock out Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.